boxing voice.
First of all, you gotta tell us about rival. I know that's your glove, but there's been so much controversy with this Mayweather-Maidana fight over the gloves. What is your take on everything that's been going on with that?
You know, I think, and I spoke when they did a story in Ring Magazine about that, and I think that if we want to make it where there is no more controversy, there has to be a certain standard that's laid out for gloves. And the WBC is actually working on something in that regard. And I think that's important that exists, because right now in any athletic commission, you know, the standard is it's 8 ounce or it's 10 ounce. That's it. Like, there's no other guidelines laid out. So I think it's something that probably could have been avoided. I think people, you know, are wanting to always try to gain an edge and gain an advantage, and I don't think that that's fair. You know, I think a glove should be crafted with a certain amount of pride and design in the way it's done, and it should be designed and made that it's supposed to do its dual purpose, which is to protect the hand, and also, you know, that you're not fighting a bare knuckle fight with your opponent. But I think there's no doubt that standards have to be laid out for everybody.
Now, have you felt those gloves, like different kinds of gloves, the Everlast MX? I mean, what's your opinion on them? Like, did Mayweather, the first time, did he have a right to request something different?
Okay, I can't speak on the Mayweather incident because I didn't feel the gloves, I didn't put them on. But this is a very interesting story, I think you guys might like. The Mayweather fight was in May, remember? In January, Jean-Pascal fought Lucien Boutte. Lucien Boutte wears the MX. So we go to the glove table, and Bob Yalen, who is the one of the members of the WBC, he was the supervisor of the event, he came there, looked at the gloves, and I protested the gloves. I said, you know, there's nothing in them. You know, there's nothing gloved. You know, we protested. Bob, you know, he's there as a supervisor. Okay, he had to defer to the commission. The commission rejected my protest. You know, they said, no, you know, they're an approved brand. You know, we're approving them. We're letting it go. In our opinion, there's nothing wrong. We're letting them go. I said to WBC, I'm stating my protest right now that I'm not happy with this selection. They did weigh 10 ounces, again, but how it's dispersed is another issue. So I did lay down. Now, it didn't end up being an issue in the fight. Jean wins the fight, no problem, everything is good. Fast forward ahead to May, when the incident happened with Mayweather and Maidana. After everything goes on, I'm walking in the MGM hotel, we're leaving the area, and probably about from here, maybe a little past these doors, you know, I see Bob Yalen, and I just looked at him. He said, I know. He says, I know. I said, I told you. No one listened to me. But they listen to Floyd, you know, so that happened before the Mayweather fight. So.
Is it more about the horsehair that's in it? Is it the material that they use to make the glove that makes it more different than maybe what you would use or be comfortable with?
Well, we use a combination of horsehair and foam. So, I mean, you could say a material, but the way it's confected, the way it's designed, the way it's put together makes for if it's good or bad, you know, and that has to be evenly distributed. It's unlike when you take a piece of foam and you say, okay, the foam is a ½ inch. It's a ½ inch. Horsehair is manually worked, you know, so you have to be very careful in how you do it, and that you don't make sure that, you know, you're not putting more padding in the back of the glove than you are putting in the front of the glove, more padding in the wrist than you are putting in the front of the glove. And people have this notion, which I was just telling a colleague of yours, you know, some promoter at some point came up with this thing, a puncher's glove, you know, which when you're holding an 8-ounce glove, you know, if you can punch, you're knocking anybody out, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's horsehair, it doesn't matter if it's foam, it's irrelevant. But somebody came up with this notion that you're going to punch hard. Well, you're not. All you're going to do is you're going to be punching with your bare knuckle. It doesn't mean you're punching hard and you're leaving bumps and bruises, you know, because you're hitting the guy with your knuckle, because there's no padding. So horsehair, if it's not done properly, can be a dangerous way of making a glove in terms that it has no memory. It doesn't come back to its original shape the way foam does. Foam, you hit it, it comes back to its original form, lasts longer over the course of a fight. Horsehair, when it moves, it stays moved, it doesn't come back. So, you know, you have to be very careful on how you manufacture it, and you have to make sure that you take pride in the way you manufacture your glove, and I like to think that we do. You guys are welcome to come on and take a look and see it yourself, and I can describe. I'll be happy to show you that.
Now, where do you think that term puncher's glove came from?
I don't know. Some guy
because the big ones are pretty much like the Claudio Reyes.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, that's pretty much when when you think of puncher's glove, if it's not the MX, it's the Clay Reyes.
You know, their thing used to be Heco in Mexico, you know, and now they should change it to puncher's glove, because that's what somebody somewhere came up with this thing calling it a puncher's glove, you know, which I don't know who coined that phrase, but I'd be ready to bet it's not somebody who ever boxed or whoever took a punch, you know. He just came up with, yeah, that's a puncher's glove, you know. And listen, I've had guys knock guys out wearing sparring gloves, you know what I mean? You can knock guys out with a 16-ounce glove, you know. This business of being a puncher's glove is a myth. All it says to me is, oh, yeah, I want to wear this. Why? Because when I press on my thumb, I can get right to my knuckle, you know, there's nothing there. Yeah, that's a puncher's glove. Oh, it's like wearing a bare fist. That's not what the glove is supposed to do.
And Russ, lastly, talk to me about your glove compared, you know, there's Everlast, there's Clay Reyes, there's Grant, there's all these gloves. How does yours differ from those? Like, kind of sell us on what your glove does, or the way it's made that, you know, will be more enticing to fighters.
That's hard to describe, like in words, and I'm not trying to compare it. We offer two types of glove, and one of them is a firmer, well, like I said, they're both horsehair with a foam padding in the knuckle area so that you cannot go through to the knuckle. Like, we have a foam pad that we put that prevents you from going through to the knuckle, okay? There's a foam pad in there, horsehair, and then we laminate the foam, similar to the way Grant does. Reyes does it as well. They uses a different type of foam. So we decided that in order to give the fans a choice, or the fighters a choice, depending on which glove they like, the firmer glove, which, you know, offered a little bit stiffer, offered more protection in the knuckle area, was a stiffer type glove. Maybe someone had a hat injury. It's more similar to what the Grant glove is like. We have a glove like that, and we have the other one that's laminated with a softer foam, which is more like the Reyes, glove. But we think they're both puncher's gloves because we believe the puncher is the fighter and not the glove.
Now, as far as fighters that you work with, Jean Pascal and Adonis Stevenson, I spoke to Ivan Michel earlier or yesterday, and he said that fight's not going to happen this year. He's going to fight someone else, and then maybe next year we get that super fight in Canada. I know Pascal's pushing for. I mean, what do you think's going on there? I mean, it's just that Adonis doesn't want any tough competition right now.
Anything I tell you would only be a theory and wouldn't be based on any fact. Okay, so I mean, I would just be a fan, you know, expressing my, you know, and we have enough guys to do that. You know, that's the inside business of the negotiations of boxing. You'd be better off to speak to Jean about that, and you know, you spoke to Ivan. I know Jean wants to fight. To me, as both a fan, as a business guy, you've got the champion of the world who lives in Montreal, the #1 contender who's the former champion of the world who lives in Montreal. They both want the fight. Seriously? Like, what? I mean, how difficult can this be, right? Like, this is a multi-million-dollar fight. Let's get it done. Why are you fighting somebody else when you have this fight available to you? Because whatever fight you're fighting, and I've said this about anybody in the light heavyweight division, and this isn't an opinion, this is fact. There's nobody makes more money fighting anybody than fighting Jean Pascal. Adonis Stevenson will not fight any other human on earth in this universe that he'll make more money than fighting Jean Pascal. No other light heavyweight makes more money than they would unless they fight Jean Pascal.
Well, he wanted 60-40 or 70-30.
Jean agreed to 60-40.
60-40.
Yeah. And you know what? Jean would be in his rights, in my opinion, to ask for a 50-50. You know, but let's say you recognize that 10% is worth the title, you know, is worth the belt. Okay, you know, I think 70-30 is almost insulting, you know, to say that, because let's face it, Jean's the guy who's bringing you the money. Would you rather fight Jean Pascal for 60-40 or fight somebody else or nobody for less? You know, you're going to less than the 60 you would make with Jean is more than the 100% you'd make fighting somebody else. Right?
Sure. Well, thanks, Russ.
Thanks, Russ. Really appreciate the interview.
My pleasure, fellas.
The Boxing Voice.